should only really ever have to wake up at 4 if you go on a holiday. Come on, Andy, snap out of it. Snap out of it. Doesn't work. Today is the first day of a little experiment. I'll talk to you about that in a bit. Right, let's get out of here. He's got to be here somewhere. Jade's never late. I'm the one who's late. Right, if you can just...
Wagging his tail, that's a good thing.
Come on. Oh, mate, he's from Eastnor. Midsummer Hill.
Blimey. You got the number?
Yeah, I've got the address here, look. Oh, good morning. The time is 5:45 AM and it's Sunday morning. I'm currently at British Camp car park and I think I found your dog. Archie, why are you doing this to us? Have you walked all night on your own? He's an old boy as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not a pup, is he?
Jade found him this morning.
Hello.
And yeah, we can't just leave him. Look at his little face. So luckily this guy's got his details, owner's details, written on his collar.
You know.
Hello.
Morning.
Sorry.
All right.
Where was he?
He was just kind of circling down here.
Goodness.
Has he been missing all night?
Well, we didn't know he was out, but obviously, yes.
He must have given me the slip.
So there's a little bit of car park drama and it's only, I don't even know what time it is, but we're arriving up at the hills a lot later than we should. But we saved Archie, so we've done our good deed. Have a look at that. Mate, the September light is spoiling us, isn't it?
Beautiful.
Me and Jade and Jeff, who you'll probably see throughout the week as well, we've been out quite a bit over the last couple of days. This September light has been wonderful, so it's just a case of finding somewhere to shoot now. Wow. So quite an eventful morning. We saved the dog, and we've got a few decent shots between the two of us, I think. Jade, you had a decent morning?
Yeah, great. Lovely sunrise.
Yeah, can't really. Looking due east towards Breeden Hill, and the Cotswolds are down there, Cheltenham, Gloucester, and yeah, the sun will just rise straight over, and there's nothing blocking that light. So when the light comes for you, you get such a great view from the Malverns. Now the sun is up. We're just probably at the end of golden hour, which doesn't really matter now because there's a bank of clouds, so we haven't really got much golden light. So I don't know if we're going to spend much more time, but that is today's mission complete. So let me explain. For those of you that don't know, I'm actually doing a project of a photo a day, and I've been doing that since January the 1st, and as difficult as it's becoming a little, I wouldn't say I'm getting bored of it, but it's getting a bit routine. So this is a project within a project. So the idea is 7 days or 7 sunrises on the hills. So I'm going to be getting up the hills every day over the next week, rain or shine, cloud inversion or not cloud inversion. I'm going to get up the hills. So that is day 1 out of 7 complete. So this morning is the second consecutive day where I'm photographing a sunrise on the hills, and today's choice of watching the world wake up is on top of Perseverance Hill. Now it's not one of the famous or popular hills really to photograph on the Malverns, but the reason I'm here is because you get what I believe to be an iconic view of the biggest hill of the Malverns, which is the Worcestershire Beacon, which is just behind me. Now I've woken up to, and there still is, around about 97% cloud cover today, so I don't think we're going to get much colour. But the good thing is, through experience, I know the shot that I wanted to get, and it is coming up 85–90% of the way up Perseverance, and getting a telephoto lens and looking straight across the pathway down to the beacon. But as you can see, it's covered in cloud at the moment, and I don't even think a black and white will work today because there's a lot of haze in the air, and as a result there's almost no contrast. So if your shot is very soft and lacking contrast, then in my opinion a black and white just won't work. So you may as well keep it you may as well keep it in its truest form and show those desaturated colours, which is the look that I love. So I'm going to wait and see what happens over the next 20 minutes as the sun will be coming up very shortly, and then it's going to be a short hop back to the car. But this is one of my favourite locations on the Malverns, simply because it's so easy to get to and it's so quick. I mean, you'll be in the car in 5 minutes. Another reason that I really like this shot in particularly is because, as you can see down there, is the town of Great Malvern, and as also you can see the hills. There's some houses built into the hillside, and I really like the relationship of the people that live in Malvern with the hills, and I like to photograph that. So just before I pack up to go home, I mean, as you can see towards the beacon now, the mist is rolling in from the west, and yeah, it's just, that shot is dead. That shot is completely gone. There's been no colour. Not that that really matters, because I mean, you could argue that the composition's the main thing. I mean, personally I don't. I think we're always governed by light. But just as I'm going home, if I spin you around, just down there is, well, across the plains of the River Severn is Breeden Hill, which is over towards Evesham and the Cotswolds. There's something really interesting happening as the landscape's probably warming up. There's been a bit of a flurry of activity of the cloud, and I just wonder if the sun might poke its head through. There could be a shot there, so I'm going to hang fire and just see if it happens, and then it's time to go home. So the scene over there didn't happen that I thought was going to happen. Still no colour, so it's one of those things. And I used to get really hung up on, you know, particularly, what's the word? I used to base my photography around colour, which is not the thing to do. As you sort of press on through your photography journey, you realise that it's more about textures, shapes, tones, contrast, rather than colours. That's not to say that I don't appreciate colours, because that's why I like to shoot early morning. But the main reason is because of that low light and the angle of the sun, which enables those colours and contrasts to look even better. But just before I go, there is an opportunity for a shot which I'm just waiting for, which I'm quite happy to wait for, which is the beacon showing its head over the tops of the clouds, and it's keeps happening for 10 seconds at a time, but it's reminiscent of my trip to Switzerland. It's keep having conversations with dog walkers, and they ask you what you're doing, what you're photographing, and I just say I'm just photographing the weather. And it's the best way to spend the morning.
Happy with that.
Now, me and Jade are no strangers to this location. We've been here several times, and speaking for myself, this is probably the shot that I've taken the most. And what is interesting to notice is that the sun is a bit further round than I thought it was going to be, obviously because it's September, and that means I'm going to have to adjust my composition slightly. Now, the one thing that I really want to get in is this, what would you call that, Jade? Rock?
Pride Rock?
Yeah, we call it Pride Rock because it just looks like exactly like the Lion King looking over Malvern, and I might have to adjust my composition to here. And we've got some of these again. Jade, do you know what these yellow bushes are called?
Gorse bushes.
Gorse! Jeez, a fountain of knowledge this morning, Jade is. He knows his bushes. He knows his gorse from his Kate Bush. And I'm going to have to adjust my composition because usually I'd stand behind the rock and get great Malvern, but this time I'm thinking of coming just to the side. So I think I'm going to shoot like this. So now we've got to just wait for the light, see what happens. Let's see if we can nail a shot. So we just got the shot. The sun has literally just come out of the haze and it's just below. You are?
It's crested.
It's crested, and it's just below the, you know, the really thick bank of clouds. So we're obviously going to lose all the light. So this, what would it be? 3 minutes is the best the light's going to be all day. So I've just jumped onto the rock, framed myself. Well, Jade framed me up, and then he hit the shutter for me. Having a mate with you makes it so much easier to get those shots, because 10-second timer, no way would I have made it onto the rock. So I think that's our shot done for the day. So it's day 4 and I've headed to the central part of the hills, and in particular I'm on Pinnacle Hill. I've just got to the top of Pinnacle Hill and I'm starting to walk down it slightly, and the reason for that is because behind me is a crow and British Camp, and British Camp is probably one of the most unique looking hills. Now, 500 BC there was an actual civilization that lived up there, and it is an Iron Age hill fort, and you can see the carvings of, you know, of their society really on the sides of British Camp and Millennium Hill, which is over the back, which is where I was on day 1. And what I really want is for the sun to rise to my right, your left, over to the east, and really cast some lovely side light on it to really accentuate the contours of British Camp. But I'm trying my best not to look over there because the light looks fabulous that way. But I've got to remember to be stubborn and think about my composition, which is going to be a panorama this morning, and I'm going to have Black Hill in the, let's say, mid-ground with the cows, if you can see them in the middle, and then heading up to British Camp on the right. And I'm going to be taking a panorama to try and capture the scene, because I want to create this ultra wide look, but I can't do that with a wide lens because I get too much undesirable foreground. So that's why I have to shoot at 70mm on my telephoto lens and stitch them together. It's another amazing morning on the Malvern Hills. I can't believe how lucky I've been this week. The hardest part of the day by far has just been getting out of bed. And if you can win that battle, if you can get up, that's the hardest bit. And the rest, it's just downhill. After that, it's easy. Right, that horizon is really starting to pink up, and what I would normally do is wait for the sun to come up before I get my shot, but what I'm thinking of doing, because it's such a nice bright silhouette, is jumping on that rock opposite. Jade, can I ask a favour, mate?
Yeah, man.
If I go and stand on the top of there,
Yeah.
would you just hit the shutter in like half an hour when I get there?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we'll have to just communicate by ye oldies shouting, "Take a picture!" Alright, sound. Because I'm thinking that from experience, the last couple of days, that magenta-y, orangey goodness will go as the sun comes up, so I'm going to get in there now. Is that all good?
All good.
All good. So far, we've really enjoyed the challenge, and maybe I can continue it and see how much further I can push it, and how much more my body can take, because, well, I wanted to talk a little bit about this, okay? I've actually felt more awake in the daylight hours because of waking up at, 4:30 every day. Really interesting, really, because I thought it'd be the opposite. The first couple of days I had to have a couple of naps, but now I think I'm acclimatised I feel much better, I feel a lot more energised, and getting your 10,000 steps in before you've, you know, had your morning coffee is, I mean, that's just brilliant, isn't it? It's just exercise done for the day by 8 o'clock. So let me know what you think. Is it sustainable? Do you do it? And if so, what do you do? If you're a photographer, can you get up every morning just for that sunrise? Is it worth it? I think that is subjective. Do you think it's worth it? So I'm in Herefordshire for this morning's shoot. I'm actually at the top of British Camp and what is quite possibly my favourite location in the whole of the Malvern Hills. Possibly.
Touch, fingertips out on the line, reach for the glimmer in the night. All the thoughts are running wild. Safety in the whisper of my secrets, pouring out into the surface. Hold me under the exposure. Keep me under the glow. What I lost is always by my side. Making waves when I cannot make mine. In the past it doesn't take my side. Keep me under the glow. What I lost is always by my side. Making waves when I cannot make mine. In the past it doesn't take my side.
So one other thing I wanted to mention as well, a huge part of, well, a huge reason for doing this whole project really was the mindfulness and the mental well-being side of things. I don't particularly struggle like a lot of people do, but I guess we all kind of have mental struggles and stress. I have quite a stressful job. I mean, I am a photographer. I work in the property and the wedding industry, and both are quite high pressure, highly pressurized industries. And when I get out here, there's no pressure at all. There's so much green around, and it's just puts things into perspective. And I think this is just the perfect medicine, and it's natural and it's free and it's really good for you. Really good for you. And the Malvern Hills, I don't know what it is about them, but I think they've got healing qualities. So if you've never been down here, get yourself down here. So an enjoyable morning spent on British Camp. It's time to head down now. And you know that highly pressurized property industry I was talking about? Well, I've got to think about that now because I've run out of battery on my DSLR, so I need to head into Malvern, go to Wetherspoons and charge my battery because I've got a job at 9 o'clock. In fact, I've got 5 houses today, so let the day begin. But I'll see you tomorrow at the top of Worcestershire Beacon, which is the highest point in the Malverns, and then that'll be the series finale. See you tomorrow. too windy up there to say anything, but I got my photo this morning of the ridge line, which is what I wanted to get. And again, a little bit like the other day, I made sure I got my shot that I came here for, rather than being like a moth and being drawn to the light and the flame which is over there. But now on our way back to the car, looking this side, now this is facing north, and obviously that's North Hill where I was a few days ago. There's a lovely shot to be had of North Hill from the side of the beacon. I'm only 100 foot away from the summit the other side, so the Worcestershire beacon's got plenty of potential. It's the highest point in Worcestershire. So, and I've got a fact as well. I'm going to say, I don't know if it's true, but I think it is. If we look this way, east, there is nothing higher than us for about 1,000 miles until you get to the Ural Mountains. That's true, isn't it? I say that fact every time. And Jay told me that fact the other day. I was like, mate, I told you that. So I might have to Wikipedia that and see if it's true. But yeah, I mean, you think about it, Holland, Belgium, and then all those countries like Estonia and that, there's nothing that mountainous, so it could be true. Anyway, let's get the shot, and then I think it's time for some breakfast. Over the last few years, the Malvern Hills have been a huge source of inspiration for me, and not just on a photographic level but on a personal level too. They aren't mountains, and they don't give you the epic vistas that you can find in other national parks, but sometimes, when the weather does its thing and you get the timing just right, there's nowhere else that you'd rather be. If you've enjoyed this video, then why not let me know what was your favourite photo that I took this week.
Seafoam, that is.
Hashtag Wetherspoon
Seafoam.
coffee. But the sun will be up in a bit, and another epic morning. Epic just qualifies epic, Jade?
Not quite epic.
Oh, alright, I was going to say it did. It's a bit awkward.
Cool.